Cindy has graciously agreed to come tonight and tell us about the Bellaire Court neighborhood. It's all yours.
Sometime after Thanksgiving, when it gets dark early, you get a knock on your door and find nobody there. You swear you saw a flash go by the window just after the knock. The telegram is to every child in the household on the court from Santa, inviting them to meet him at the Bellaire Court Christmas tree the evening of December 24th. On that Saturday after Thanksgiving at 10 a.m., the men in the neighborhood gather at the tree, which is sometimes 25 feet high, a few feet higher each year. They use ladders to string the lights around it. Each family brings out the 4-foot-high wooden candy cane. There's our candy canes. To hang in the trees or on the fronts of their houses. One evening in early December, the women gathered to put together the tree beat to plan the Christmas celebration. Then on the morning of December 24th, all of the children ages 4 to 15 gather at 10 a.m. at Mrs. Grummer's house. Each is given a white oilcloth collar with a big red oilcloth bow on it, and a set of pages with songs on them, Christmas carols that they practice for an hour in this range of off-pitched, tiny voices. This is called the Bellaire Court Children's Choir, and we have some members of the most recent Bellaire Court Children's Choir in the back. Hi guys. About 5 p.m. that night, when it's dark and the snow has started twinkling down, a bunch of men and women gather at Tucker Sauter's house to drink these hot rum and cream drinks called Tom and Jerry's. This is called the men's choir practice. At 5:45, 15-year-olds gather in front of the tree, 4 or 5 of them. Then they walk around the court ringing handheld bells. When they get to the tree again, a few people have gathered. Some are given these wooden stakes that have tin cans taped to the top. Rags and kerosene are in those cans, which are burning torches. The 15-year-old bell ringers start out around the court again, leading the small group, some who have all of the torches, singing one Christmas carol or another. As this little procession passes each house, families trundle out in their snowy walks in boots and coats. Little kids are pulled in sleds. So with each few houses, the procession grows. The singing is stronger. When they pass Tucker Sauter's, the men's choir people tumble out into the snow to join in. So with each few, the procession is long enough that the back end of the line is singing the same song, but half a line later, or might try to start a different song. Snowflakes go shh as they cross the torch flames that give off greasy black smoke. Flashbulbs pop as the post-crescent takes its shots. The progression reaches the tree where the little kids in the big white collars collect on the brick porch of the Whitworth's house. Dr. Landis, who has this amazingly flinty voice, stands up by them and welcomes everybody. The choir sings its squeaky tune. Dr. Landis then starts recalling how each year they do this, and then he interrupts himself to call out to the west where some 16-year-old is stationed. Johnny, do you see Santa yet?
It's foggy, I can't see him.
Oh, all right. We'll keep going. Dr. Landis calls out to the east. Lisa, are you over there? Have you seen Santa yet?
No, nothing yet.
All right, we'll keep our eyes open. We'll check later. Dr. Landis leads the collection of folks huddled there in songs and choir, and then he tells how each year Santa has his Christmas Eve trip around the globe with a stop right here on Bellaire Court. Wow, the children are heard to be thinking. That, Dr. Landis explains in excellent storytelling pieces, is because hundreds of years ago, when the only people living on the court were the Menominee Indians, Santa landed and Blitzen broke his leg. Peacon, a young Native American boy, took care of Blitzen for the whole year and told Santa to come back next year to pick him up, that Blitzen will be healed by then. Santa did, and so every year Santa returns first to Bellaire Court in the memory of Peacon. Thus begins our presentation on the history of Bellaire Court. My name is Czarnik-Neimeyer. I have lived on Bellaire Court for 15 years. I've not yet lived there long enough for it to be called the Czarnik-Neimeyer house. It's still called the Stefan house. I'm not sure how many more years I have to be until it's the Czarnik-Neimeyer house. Bellaire Court, to kind of give you a sense of where it is in Appleton, if you are driving off of College, if you take a left and go north on Meade Street, you pass Edison School on the right, and then you come up to the first and only four-way stop, which is Atlantic. Take a right on Atlantic about 3 or 4 blocks, you'll come to a T. If you turn right, you're on Tonka. If you turn left, you're on Bellaire Court. So it's a little nook back there through the ravine from Nowata Court. We were talking to some people, but through the ravine from Nowata is Bellaire Court. One of the things that Bellaire Court, I would say that we really pride ourselves in is our sense of community on the court. We have potlucks. We have every year a Memorial Day potluck and a Labor Day potluck at the end of the court in the street, planned by people on the court. And then really a big deal is our Christmas celebration. Everyone on the court, when you move onto the court, you get 2 candy canes. And woe be it to anybody who tries to get rid of those candy canes. We were at or maybe Carrie, maybe you were telling me, somebody was at a rummage sale once and people were trying to sell their candy canes. You don't sell your candy canes in Bellaire Court. So just about every house puts candy canes up. This is a smaller version. These are Marge's. These are the older ones, Marge?
I think I'm just on the
Yeah. Okay, all right. We also have Santa who comes to the court every year, as we talked about, and the reason for that is because of the Native American boy Hiakan many years ago, who took care of Blitzen, Santa's reindeer, when he broke his leg. So that's part of the reason that Santa always comes to Bellaire Court, and Santa passes out stockings made by Santa to all the children on the court. We also have, this is a bell, 2 of our been around longest, wisest people on the court. We've got Shirley here, who you'll see in the DVD in a little bit, and Rachel, who is now 101, okay, and been on the court. Shirley, how long have you been on the court? 42 years. Okay, and this one, it says Connolly 1923-62 Bellaire Court. So this is Rachel's bell, and these are the bells that get kind of rung around the court to call people out on Christmas Eve. We have a little coffee set. So anytime anyone has a gathering on the court, we're always welcome to use those things. You know, we really focus a lot on tradition. We focus a lot on community. We focus a lot on kind of standing out on the sidewalk and talking to each other and helping each other. Snow blow every once in a while. There'll be a great big snow, and I'll get up in the morning and Maury has snow blowed my front sidewalk, and he's probably done that for lots of people. So we really try hard to look out for each other. I'd love I'd like to hand this around and really let everybody who is interested on the court share.
Our houses are close together, and there aren't any backyards. Someone came to visit us in the wintertime and looked around and they said, "Man, this looks like a trailer park." And I looked around and thought, yeah, it does. We have a new generation of young ones coming in. There was a couple of years that things were thin. Well, now we have the Bruins and lots of other kids. And their parents were really good about keeping them on the sidewalk. But this year, they started playing in the street. And it's like, oh, yes! They'll be playing kick the can under the lights soon. They're smart enough to get out of the way. They're growing up, and it's another generation coming through with parents that get it.
I don't really have a lot to say because I've only lived on Bellaire Court for a couple years, but I can say this, that my grandmother's house was on the corner of 13 Hancock Street, and so when I was little, we had a little more freedom than my children do today, and I used to bike over to Bellaire Court just to enjoy the neighborhood and see the children playing. And so my entire life I've wanted to live on Bellaire Court. I even went as far as enrolling my children in Edison School when they started school, and they're now 11 and 9. with the hopes that I would eventually own a home on Bellaire Court, which became a reality about 2.5 years ago. So it's really special to me, and it's extremely special to my children. They're very into the tradition and the history of it. It's like taking a step back in time, and it's beautiful to know your neighbors. So it really is a wonderful neighborhood.
Well, I grew up in Bellaire Court. I didn't only have the best mom, but I had a second mom and a third mom. I was extremely lucky, sometimes Shirley. I was really lucky. Bellaire Court was a great place to grow up, and when I moved into an apartment by myself, I didn't realize that people had backyards because I had the park behind me. So it is a fantastic place to grow up, and the kids that are there now are really lucky.
I brought along the books up here that you are welcome to take some time to look at. They start at 1945. I actually Googled history of Bellaire Court in Appleton, Wisconsin today, and came up with two copies of the Appleton Review, December 16th, 1930, and December 9th, 1930. I thought this was kind of interesting. December 9th, 1930, in the Appleton Review. Over the Teacups Club was entertained at the home of Mrs. J.F. King, Bellaire Court, on Friday afternoon. The club will hold its Christmas party Friday at the home of Mrs. F.S. Bradford. The next paragraph, Miss Carrie Morgan was hostess to the Clio Club in Henholm, North Green Bay Street, Monday evenings. So we referred to Carrie Morgan, who the Morgan Building is named after. And then on December 16, 1930, Mr. and Mrs. G. Ramers entertained 16 guests at a venison dinner in their home on Bellaire Court Thursday evening. Bridge was played in the evening and prizes awarded to Mr. and Mrs. Heckert and Mrs. A. Soley. So that was kind of fun. So, unless there is anything else anyone wants to say from the court, or
Question, wasn't Peabody Park originally known as Bellaire Park? And when did it get changed? And how did you let it get changed?
money was in Peabody's will to change the name. Oh, so I didn't know that. It was initially, Peabody Park was initially called Bellaire Park. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's shown as such on the 1889 Appleton map.
Okay. Bellaire Creek goes through, yeah. And actually, a lot of the houses on the court used to be rentals, is my understanding, during the war, correct?
Some of us do have backyards.
And some of us do have backyards.
No garages, no garages.
No garages. No, I have no garage. I have 2 sheds, I have no garage.
How about a round of applause for the whole darn court?
A circle signifies unity, inclusion, and nurturing, among many other meanings. A circle has no beginning or end and incorporates the elements inside. Resembling a circle, my neighborhood, Bellaire Court, is a secluded area in Appleton, Wisconsin that has a rich history and maintains a welcoming community for all ages. The individuals in my neighborhood are close-knit and involved. We watch out for one another and help when needed. By adapting these qualities and developing neighborhoods that foster positive relationships, communities around the world would begin to work towards inclusion. Bellaire Court uses space effectively to achieve unity because of its layout, seclusion, and traditions. Bellaire Court contains 2 entrances, welcoming in the visitors with flower boxes on the houses and colorful trees. No 2 houses look the same and range from the colors of beige to red to bright green. We are a colorful neighborhood. The court is in a circle shape, with a street branching off of the side, containing a dead end, which is where we host all of our potlucks and court gatherings. The layout of Bellaire Court offers unity amongst the neighbors. The space is used effectively, and there are no empty house lots on Bellaire Court, or space that does not serve a purpose. Because of the circle shape, we can walk out of our doors and see the inhabitants of other houses, waiting for a kind hello or a friend to play with. Houses are a few yards apart, demanding cooperation between families and the opportunity to get to know one another. The layout demands inclusion, and families have the opportunity and feel comfortable enough to become active members of the court. According to Celtic thought, a circle was often drawn as a protective boundary, similar to Bellaire Court. Walking home from school when I was in elementary school, I always knew that I would be safe as I entered the court. As I stepped over that imaginary boundary line, I felt welcomed and at home within the neighborhood. Many times, circles invite people in. They beckon us to become included and a part of the circle. Although all are welcome into the warm community, Bellaire Court is somewhat secluded from much of the city. Many areas in Appleton have open streets, and neighbors do not have the opportunity to connect with each other. Many people remain in their houses and mind their own business. Bellaire Court is much the opposite. Individuals feel safe in the court, and because of its seclusion, know that most of the people entering the circle are friendly neighbors or lost travelers trying to get to their intended destination. Kids are welcome to play outside and often make use of the empty streets to play night games or catch a football. Like it is noted in the article Streets Have Value, the most lively and famous streets, it can be observed, are not developed, built, or made. They evolved, resisting cataclysmic change, withstanding fads, adapting incrementally, and clinging to the character of place. Children on the court are encouraged by adults to get to know their elderly neighbors and develop a cross-generational relationship. The seclusion of Bellaire Court helps families to remain involved with the neighbors around them. Although I see seclusion on Bellaire Court to be very positive and enriching, one might argue that this seclusion separates Bellaire Court from the rest of the city. This is a valid argument, but Bellaire Court grows itself as the surrounding community evolves, blending together the rich communities of each space. Bellaire Court thrives on tradition. Whether we are just talking to neighbors as they pass by or celebrating Christmas with our friends and families around the court, we are passing on rituals that will remain in the hearts of those around us. The space that we live in provides locations for us to gather and celebrate as a united neighborhood.